everyone. It is Chasing Dreams Thursdays, and I'm really happy to have you here. My apologies, I'm 5 minutes late. You know, one of those days. I'm just happy to be here. You know, we have so many wonderful responsibilities, and sometimes life gets in the way. So sorry to be a little bit late, but so happy that you're here. Hello, old pirates. Hi, Michael. How you doing? Good to see you. Nice to have you here. I hope all is well. So for those of you who are joining for the first time, we are streaming on Instagram as well as on YouTube, and this is Chasing Dreams Thursdays, where we talk about all lots of exciting things to do with publishing and writing books and literacy and just appreciating and enjoying reading and chasing our dreams. So, welcome to Michael, who is hailing us up from sunny Canada. Some very summery weather there. It's been a pretty hot summer in Jamaica as well. All right, so you know how I like to start my Thursdays off. I like to talk about one small step that I have taken this week to chase my dreams. Anyone who follows me on Instagram may have actually gotten a hint of that this week in my seniors writing workshop class that I run on a Monday. One of my students challenged me to writing something different. So my preference is children's books. I have a passion for children's books. I am an educator, and I'm very passionate about adding to the collection of books that exist that are just very wholesome and tackle diversity and tackle historical topics, particularly as it pertains to the Caribbean. And she's challenging me to try something new, a different genre, a different style of writing. So I did. I actually did. I won't tell you what I started. Let me finish it first. But it definitely is not a children's book and is a take off of what I would normally write. So let's see how that goes. So my little step towards chasing my dreams this week was stepping out of my comfort zone and trying something new, because you never know, right? That might turn out to be the New York Times bestseller. We'll see. So why don't you share in the chat what your little step was that you took this week to step out of your comfort zone and try something new, or commit a little bit further to that dream that you've been pursuing. A couple nuts and bolts before I actually jump into tonight's topic. Some interesting things that I've come across in publishing, self-publishing podcasts and books and stuff that I've been reading. And many of you have heard me mention the Creative Pen podcast. It's actually a podcast coming out of England. And I was listening to one of their episodes this week, and two interesting points came up that I would love to share, and certainly go and check them out, Creative Pen, Penn. And they talked about, in marketing, one of the biggest pieces of advice that anyone gives you is to identify your audience, your avatar. And it's the same for publishing. If you're writing a book, you really kind of have to know who you're writing for. And it was interesting, they commented on not even just having a particular persona in mind, certain demographics, whether it's a particular age, profession, etc. But even trying to consider looking at interests. Are you writing for a particular audience that has particular interests? Because that would then give you a slightly broader market, because now you're cutting across age ranges and gender and socioeconomic background. So slightly different perspective to take on your audience that you can consider. The other thing that they mentioned, and I think I've mentioned it before, I've always told you to just kind of vary your publishing platforms, because different publishing platforms have different reaches, different audiences. I have in the past published with Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I'm looking at a couple of other options because most of the traditional publishing, self-publishing platforms target primarily bookstores, the online market, but don't rule out libraries. So definitely do your research there. Kobo seems to be a name that keeps popping up. I'm going to do a little bit more research and I will definitely get back to you on that. But don't rule out libraries. It's a really good space to have your book distributed. Hello, man, from Janet Crescent. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just getting started, just kind of doing some nuts and bolts, sharing some tidbits that I had come across doing my research this week, and sharing my little tidbit about chasing my dreams. And I see where Michael is asking, why not write about the Black Caucasians of the Caribbean? You'll have to DM me and send me a little bit more about what you have in mind. I don't know if I totally understand fully what you're suggesting. So tell me what you're thinking, because I do enjoy anything historical. I do have a degree in history, something I'm very interested and passionate about, and I don't get to write about it or talk about it or teach about it enough. So I'm taking all suggestions. So send me a DM, Michael, and I can ask you some additional questions on what you have in mind in particular, where that genre is concerned. Cool. So I'm trying to open my cup of tea, because everyone who knows me knows that's how I make it through my day, and it's been an interesting day, to say the least. So definitely tuning in with tea this evening. So my topic for tonight is funding your publishing projects, because it can be expensive. And very often as self-publishers, we don't consider the costs up front. So we kind of jump in because we get very passionate about a manuscript that we're writing, and we jump in, and then when we're ready to publish, we're like, oh my gosh, hold on, the editor is really expensive. If you need an illustrator, that's an additional cost. And many of these can run you into thousands of US dollars if you're not careful. And if you haven't done your research properly when you start, ultimately you end up spending a lot more than you need to spend, just because you now have to, you may end up with the wrong persons on your team to help you, and you end up starting over from scratch. So funding your project. So you want to kind of do your budget from the beginning, but there are actually some really interesting routes that you can take to fund your manuscript. Out of pocket is your first option. And if you have a good budget to begin with, and you know what your timeline is like, then it's easy for you to, space that out in a way that's manageable for you. So definitely out of pocket is a really good approach to take. The second one that I definitely think is worth exploring is crowdfunding. Now, crowdfunding for authors and artists generally, crowdfunding for creatives, is really more like pre-selling your book. So you're looking at platforms such as Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and there are a couple more that I've heard of recently. So look at that, because really what you're doing is pre-selling your book, and you create packages, right? So it's not just that the book that someone pre-sells for, someone may pre-purchase, but it could be a package. So you can create a range of like different merchandise. You could create a book with a coaching session, a book with a special one-of-a-kind autographed special edition copy with maybe some prints from the book. So I mean, it allows you to be really creative in the merchandise and in your product offerings and your service offerings that you can use to kind of help you with upfronting some of those costs when you're ready to publish. Hello, Jan Bunny. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you tonight. Welcome to Chasing Dreams Thursdays. So we're talking about funding our projects, and we're on our second suggestion. If you joined us late, please listen in from the beginning and catch all the little nuts and bolts we added earlier. But definitely crowdfunding is a really good option to go with. Now, of course, you want to research all of the platforms thoroughly beforehand, because the terms and conditions are very different. So there are some who will not release any funds unless you've earned everything that you said was your target goal. So if you put as your target goal 2,000 US, if you collect anything below that amount, then you don't receive that money. It's returned. Well, let me not say return, because I don't think the cards are run until a particular date. So you don't get any of the money if you don't hit your date on, or your targeted goal on some of the sites. Other sites will give you whatever you collect, and there's no timeline on when you can collect. So some will say you can't collect until you reach your goal and the time period is up. Some will allow you to collect as you go along. So look at that. That is definitely an option. So out of pocket, using crowdfunding sites, 2 really good options if you are fundraising. And hello, Ramrock Speaks. Thank you so much for joining us on Chasing Dreams Thursdays. Glad you could make it. And of course, my third recommendation for funding, and then of course, I say this with a little bit of caution, it's a really, really good option depending on the manuscript that you've written. Going the route of sponsorship is a valuable route, because certainly if you partner with a reputable company and a company that's doing very well and is established, then it saves you having to find that money up front. And so it takes the burden off of you to publish. You can really focus on the creative process and have some help with the funding aspect of things. That being said, you want to make sure it's a partnership that works for you. You want to make sure that it is a partner who has the same values and the same philosophy that you have, because they are going to partner with you on this. They're forever going to be connected to your project in some form or fashion. You know, chances are their product is going to be worked into the illustrations or some notation made somewhere in the book, and it's permanently etched. So you want to make sure you guys are on the same page and that the terms and conditions of that sponsorship are very clear from the beginning, because there really is no backing out, right? And you want to make sure that you are happy with that kind of association, because your book is once it's published, that's it. You know, it's out in the public sphere forever. So for example, if you're a health junkie, you may not want to partner with a company that is selling soda or snacks with a lot of preservatives. I mean, if that's just not your thing. So check into that kind of contract carefully. Hello, Gail. Good to see you. Nice to see you, fellow author. And we have some new faces in the crowd tonight. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. So happy to see some new faces. If you are fellow authors, please share. And if you want to share the name of your book, do that as well. And so yeah, those are my 3 tips. I also consider, and it's kind of in line with crowdfunding as well, there are a couple of sites that run subscription programs. And so it might be easier for you to churn out your book incrementally. So instead of publishing in one go, you can, using a site such as Patreon, churn out chapters, sections of your book, and have persons pay for it to be released slowly. Amazon has something like that, where you can publish a chapter at a time. It's called their Vella, VLLA program, but it's not open to all countries. I think you have to be located in North America. I think it includes the US and Canada, but that's definitely a really good option to consider. There you go. Funding for authors. You don't always have to go out of pocket. That's my number 1 on the list. It's a good thing if you can. If not, you definitely want to look into crowdfunding sites such as Kickstarter and Indiegogo. You want to look into running subscriptions and having persons pay to have chapters released slowly but surely over time. And definitely look at sponsorship. If you can find a sponsor that you are on the page with, your philosophies are the same, then that's an absolute win-win situation, because then you have potential for growth beyond just the book, merchandise, TV shows, cartoons, the works. So there you go, my suggestion for tonight. Any questions from me before we sign off? We are almost out of time. Anything that anyone wants to share, any insight that they have on any of these topics that I may have brought up that you want to throw out to the group? And remember, we meet here every Thursday at 8:30 Central Time, Jamaica time. And I always encourage you to chase those dreams and share that one little step that you have taken towards chasing your dreams. All right, there we go. So any additional questions, please be sure to drop them in the comments when we're done so we can talk about it. Good to have so many new faces tonight. So good to see some oldies, our usual Thursday night community. Always a pleasure to have you here. And if you missed any of what we spoke about tonight, please check out the video once it is posted. Happy Thursday. It's a long weekend in Jamaica, so we have a holiday on Monday. And yes, thank you, Gail. So our Writers, our Chasing Dreams community has actually launched a subscription community. So we meet monthly to share our writing goals, to write together, to get coaching, to have access to guest speakers and webinars, to guide us on our publication process, our marketing process, any kind of support that you need to get from manuscript to published, marketed, and having that book out in the public sphere for others to celebrate your work. So if you are interested in being a part of our Chasing Dreams Writers community, please reach out to me or check out our website at iamlisamclean.com. There's a lot of information there, or send me a DM, and the link is in the bio. Gail, thank you for reminding me of that. Nice, Canada. Oh, it's Caribana weekend. I did not know it coincided with our Emancipation weekend in Jamaica. So we actually have back-to-back holidays. So we have Emancipation Day on the 1st, and then we celebrate Independence Day on the 6th. So we have 2 weekend type of celebrations this year. Nice, enjoy your Caribana. I've never been in Canada for that. I've heard only good things. So enjoy. All right, nice. Great to have you all here. Please check us out, iamlisamclean.com. Join me again next week, Thursday at 8:30. Check out our subscriptions community and have an amazing weekend. Take care.